All right, there's a lot of frustrations to be had when on the dating apps these days, folks. So on this episode of the LPDS, we're going to get into some of those dating app frustrations and provide a little couple tips and tricks on how to sort of beat the dating app game for all you single guys and gals out there who are trying to find their swole mate on the dating apps, and you're dealing with all these frustrations, these issues that keep popping up. We're going to get into what these issues are, why these happen, and how we can be better than them, how we can beat them. And you're gonna realize it's a lot deeper and a lot more than just quote unquote tips and tricks to beat dating app games or whatever. Because we're not trying to beat dating apps and score guys and gals. We're trying to be better people, and you're gonna see how this all unfolds on this episode. All that plus a bunch more. So we'll get into it right now. Here we go. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to another episode of the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. It's the show where we talk about nothing but find the lessons in everything. And you'll see that. We try to do it in a fun, entertaining, and good times sort of way so that people can enjoy themselves throughout their week and not have to deal with nothing but negativity and chaos and garbage in their lives. They get a little bit of pick-me-up, a little pep in their step from the LPDS. So we're going to get into dating app stuff, if you will, on the Junction to talk to help people better themselves overall and to understand the why behind some of these frustrating things you see. And I'll share a bit of like a revelation, a realization, coming to Jesus moment, whatever you want to call it. I'll share what I noticed, what happened to me, so that you guys can do the old LPDS step back and see. Maybe it'll help you guys out too. For all you single folks out there in the dating pool, this is guys and gals here. Again, LPDS doesn't discriminate, so we're trying to help people helping people, and that's all the people out there. So stay tuned for that. First, I have to get a little frustration off my chest, and I blame myself. Initially, I blamed JPL3, my father. But I really blame myself. What happened was, before we took the trek down here, as you know, for those of you who don't, I took the road trip down with my old man, JPL3, and my dog, Randy, from New Jersey down to the new compound down here in Texas, the LPDS compound, LPDS ranch, whatever you want to call it. Hotel Libretti. Whatever. In that prep of that excursion, my father and mother packed one of my coolers that I had. They packed it with leftover homemade food, chicken cutlets, whatever, cheeses, finest cheeses, charcuteries, the dried cured meats, the what have yous, and some other stuff in there. And one of the things in there was what looked like half a baguette of Italian bread wrapped in tin foil. Now, as most of you know already, my father, I think he's got stock in big foil because he wraps everything in aluminum foil. Everything is tin foiled up. We used to get in our lunch bags as kids, our sandwich would be wrapped in foil. We would get a juice box wrapped in foil. And then we would get an apple or a fruit foiled up. Okay, so he's all on the foil train. He's got stock in it. Clearly, it's not doing great because we're still poor. But besides that, he's a foil guy. And so what I thought this was a half, sliced baguette of Italian bread. Not a French baguette, but that baguette style, a tube of Italian bread in this foil. So when we got back to the new ranch here, I was unloading the cooler, putting the stuff in the fridge, and I put the bread in there. What I thought was bread, and went about my business. And a couple weeks go by, and I go in the fridge. I was like, oh, yes. I got some Italian bread, and I got a couple leftover meatballs. I'm going to make myself a nice lunchtime meatball hero, meatball sub, meatball how you doing. I had some mozzarella cheese. That's mozzarella for all you Americans out there who don't speak Jersey trash Italian slang. And I was going to make this nice meatball sub. And by mozzarella, look, I'm balling on a budget here. So really what it was string cheese that I just strung out into little shards and then chopped them up julienne style to make it, so that it will eventually melt on the toasted bread and onto the meatball sub. So I get everything ready first. This is another rookie mistake on my part. Mind you, what's a little LPDS caveat here. My father and my mother, mainly my father because he drove with me and he really packed most of the items. My mom made the items and my dad packed the cooler for me. He never explicitly said, hey, this is Italian bread. Use it before it gets molded or whatever. Make a sub out of it. He never said what it was. He just put it in the cooler. And he might have said what it was, but maybe I wasn't paying attention or whatever. I just know he never explicitly said this is Italian bread. So I didn't, I just made the assumption. I looked at it. I made a very weak assessment at best based on very little information. And I was like tube looking in foil, historically speaking, based on the contents of the Libretti family freezer and fridge. This is Italian bread. So back to the story. I am chopping up the meatballs into halves so that they're stackable on the sub roll. I got the oven going to broil so I can toast the bread because I don't have a toaster oven or a toaster, so I just use the oven. And that's a whole separate conversation in itself of buying smaller electric versions of stuff you already have. And I know people go back and forth talking about how, it's cheaper because it's smaller, it heats up faster, and you don't have to wait for the entire oven to heat up and this and that. So you buy air fryers, you buy toaster ovens, you buy regular toasters, this and that. Look, here's the thing, guys, and I believe we discussed this in the past. All of it's an oven, okay? Your oven has the settings to do it all. It's 2023, folks. You want to air fry stuff? Put it in the oven. You want to toast bread? Oven. Pop-Tarts? Oven. You want to bake biscuits? Oven. It's all there. It's all there for you. Right there in that one spot. Now, it does take a little longer. Obviously, it's a bigger contraption that you're dealing with. But it can all be done. And it's really not that much more money to get that thing heated up than it is to do the toaster oven and the air fryer and all that stuff. And you can air fry stuff in bulk so that now you have it for a long time. You can have the leftovers. Unless you're one of those hoity-toities and you don't like leftovers, which is a real first world problem in my opinion, but whatever. Anyway, I put the oven on to broil so I can toast this sub. I get the string cheese shredded and ready to go. Everything's ready, and now I'm going to put the bread in the toaster because what I wanted to do was I wanted the bread to be toasted and fresh and hot so that as soon as I put the meatballs on and the cheese, it's already going to melt immediately. And then you throw all that into the oven for a little bit longer to really get a nice cheese sauce crust, and then you're good to go. So, and I go to get the bread to put it in. I take the one layer of foil off. Then I take another layer. I was like, oh, usually JPL3 is good about 2 layers, and then it's whatever it is. So then I take a third layer off, and this is getting thinner and thinner. I was like, this is some weak-ass piece of Italian bread. 4th layer, 5th layer. I get down to the 6th layer, and that's when I realized this was not bread. My parents packed me a chopped up turkey leg bone from Thanksgiving that just had a couple of entrails of fat and turkey meat on it so that I could make a soup out of it. So that I could boil that and use that crap to make turkey soup out of. They just gave me a bone. I was so heated. I had everything ready for a homemade meatball parm sub, everything. And I get this damn turkey bone? I drove garbage. I drove trash 1,200 miles down, taking up cooler space, to be absolutely, utterly disappointed in so many ways 3 weeks later after the fact. I couldn't believe it. First, like I said, I was heated at JPL 3. I thought he just duped me and wasted my time and cooler space and an emotional, high that I was riding, thinking I was going to get a nice, fresh meatball sub. Instead, I got trash. I got garbage. It wasn't even enough on the turkey bone to make a soup out of. I would have needed to buy more turkey and chicken broth and seasoning and vegetables to make this soup. They gave me raccoon food. Stuff a raccoon would look at and take one scrape at it and be like, this bone's done. I don't even know why they still saved the bone. I didn't leave until a month after Thanksgiving. And they still had this bone and they gave it to me. And boy, was it disappointing. I was heated. So I wanted to give him a piece of my mind. But then I took the step back. I remembered the big three, not being a shitty person. And I decided to assess the situation a little bit better. Come to find out, it was for soup and not for meatball subs. So I got bone bamboozled there. And it's really my fault for all these very, I guess, like I said, weak assessments, borderline assumptions that, took me down this dark path. So, lesson learned. Don't get emotionally invested in something before you know it's actually going to happen. Anyway, that being said, keep moving on. Livvy Dunne is in the news again as we continue on the news, LPDS news cycle. Everybody knows that I'm pro Livvy Dunne, Olivia Dunne, the LSU gymnast, Jersey strong, Jersey native, love her. She's a tremendous human being, catches heat constantly, and she's in a little bit of a do-to-do now. Again, in recent weeks, and this is, look, in the grand scheme of things, this is a nothing burger in real life. This is some drama that has gotten blown up because she's super popular and famous, and it's making things worse, probably for her and for all those involved. So she's in a do-to-do with this guy named Markell Washington, who's a YouTuber. He's a really funny, entertaining fella. Everybody should check him out if they just want some, nothing entertainment, not trashy. He's not a trashy guy whatsoever, but he's entertaining. He's in that TikTok pop culture world these days. And I guess he had what he said was a poor experience meeting her at a club one day. He felt he got snubbed by her. She didn't see it that way. It's a classic case of he said, she said, two sides of the story. His point of view is probably correct in what he thought was a snubbing, when in his interpretation of what being snubbed looks like, he probably got snubbed. He felt he got snubbed. And what her interpretation is of giving a proper greeting and being welcoming to somebody when you're meeting someone new, she probably felt that she did that, and she probably did do that. But, it's two sides of the story. Things happen, and it should have just been ended amicably. But apparently it got blown up. She went on this Instagram live, how you doing, and was crying and this and that, and I'm being accused of this, and I have nothing, blah, 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 all this crap. And then apparently she got caught sending some like DMs to her close friends group on Instagrams, and somebody leaked those where I guess she was talking shit against Markell and being a shitty person, and somebody outed her on that, and now she's catching hell for it. And I wanted to come, as a Livvy Dunne super fan. I don't know what they call it these days. I think it's Stan. I don't know. I'm not going to use that because I'm way out of my element. I have no business using, pop culture terms and references and slang and how you doings. But I'm a big-time fan of hers, and I want to come to her defense, not because she was shit-talking, because I don't condone being a shitty person, especially at all, but behind someone's back like that and coming out forward, publicly being nice and then being shitty privately, that's a bad look. That's not what you want to do. But I want to come to her defense because, of course, she's... Damn, if you're looking in YouTube land right now, I got this new mic stand. Thought it would be easier. It's turning out to be a piece of trash because it doesn't hold steady. And it's trash, garbage, so I'm dealing with that. Anyway, she's catching hell. Everyone's being shitty to her in response. And like we talk about in the big three... You don't fight shit with shit. You don't fight negativity with negativity. So she's catching hell for it. And let's be serious here. She reacted to the situation the way I would imagine any 21-year-old kid, young woman who's super famous overnight would react to a situation like this. When all eyes are on you, looking for dirt no matter what you do. Some hater's going to try to drag you for it. And she's a kid. She's a legal adult, but she's a kid. Your brain's not fully developed yet. We talked about that a billion times. And she's dealing with it, and she reacted the way I would expect a kid, a young adult, to react. Probably still better than how I would have reacted to it. Because at least publicly, she tried to be mature and heartfelt and sincere about it. And then she just got busted, shitting on Markell behind his back via the DMs. I would have been shitting on the dude in public and making a scene and creating a video that would have got me canceled 10 years later. So we have to understand, again, taking the step back, taking the second to assess the situation and see what's going on, and realizing we have two young adults who became mega famous overnight almost. Mega famous. Like internationally known, famous, both of them. And they get into what is a normal, everyday situation that happens. A misunderstanding, a miscommunication, and because all eyes are on them, everything they say and do is going to be, investigated and criticized and scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb, and for better or worse. And so, sometimes that's great for them, for their brand, if they have brands, if they do that sort of thing. And sometimes it really sucks. And I know there's always going to be these text message tough guys, these keyboard cowboys in the background saying, well, that's the price of fame. That's the price you got to deal with. But you don't, because it's the keyboard cowboys that are creating that environment for these famous people. For people like these two individuals who are not bad people whatsoever. They're young kids, and they're trying to go through it. I'm not talking about like the pieces of shit famous people of the world. Not that anyone deserves to be shitted on, but these two kids certainly don't deserve to be treated like garbage because that's the price of fame. That's not how it works. They're only being treated like garbage because you're treating them like garbage. So maybe if you just stopped, I don't know, just didn't do it, they wouldn't have to deal with it. Anyway, I feel for Livvy Dunne. I like Markell. Not that he gives a shit about me. There's zero chance, negative chance that either of them hear any of this ever. But I want to say I feel for both of them. I hope they can make amends and realize that this was a miscommunication that got blown out of proportion. They both did some stupid things, maybe not, I don't know. and then forgive and move forward and grow from this experience, and that people just stop shitting on them just for living their lives. So anyway, moving on. More TikTok stardom stuff. I thought this was a funny, not really wild, but a very entertaining sort of situation going on right now, or in the past couple weeks. There's this girl on TikTok another one who became famous overnight. I think she started a senior year of high school and she's in college now. She did sports. I don't know what sports, soccer, track, whatever. But she had this scar on her face. Her name is on TikTok. It's WTMAB, something like that. I don't know what her name is, but they call her Scar Girl, SCAR Girl. So you can Google Scar Girl and you'll find out the whole situation with her. She got this scar on her face, a legitimate scar. I don't know if she was like attacked by a dog or something happened to her and she got this scar on her face. Well, as of recent, the scar drastically changed. It got longer, darker, and the curvature on the scar on her face actually changed. So it went from looking like a realistic scar to looking like almost 100% this is drawn on with some sort of a marker or makeup or something. And she was being called out for it. And instead of, go look and make the decision for yourself. Make your own opinions on it if you're into this sort of thing. If you got nothing else going on with your day and you need some TikTok drama. But in my personal opinion, she's drawing it on. And she's in a situation, much like the Liver King, where she got a lot of clout and fame from this real scar, and the thing started to fade and go away, and she drew it on, and then when she was called out for it, she decided to double down on the lie, and she put out all these videos and responses saying that it's real, and she'll prove it, and she's talking about how she's like gonna wipe it down for you and show you, but she's not really wiping it down, and she's saying she's using a makeup removing wet wipe, but she's just using a dry tissue, and she's not actually hitting her face, and then she uses a Q-tip, and that's not touching her face. Like, it's all this stuff. I think it's going to work out for her because it's funny. It's really not like serious. She's not trying to steal money from people, and it's really just for, I don't know, clout, fame, dopamine rush, whatever. But it's a very funny sort of situation where there's like the mysterious case of the real or fake scar, and we need to get like one of those film noir detectives, private eyes out there to go investigate and find out the truth about if she's lying or not. But I just thought it was a funny thing that look, don't let my opinion sway you one way or the other. It's a fake scar, okay? I won't post a picture here. I'll let you guys do the digging yourselves. You can Google Scar Girl TikTok. WTMAB, I think, is her TikTok username. I could have spelled that wrong, or I could have wrote that down wrong. But it's fake, okay? You can see the before and after, the real scar versus the current scar. It looks like she took one of those brown Mr. Scent markers that smelled like brown. I don't know what brown was supposed to smell like for the Mr. Scents, but it's, boop, she just drew it on there. It's not even close to the original scar. She said first that she tried to claim that she went to go have some sort of like scar removal thing or some sort of laser treatment to minimize the scar, and it backfired and it turned the opposite and it gave her this new scar, essentially. That's what her claim was, and that it's not makeup and it's not fakery. But it's fakery. So go check it out for yourself. You be the judge. I think it's fake. I think it's very obviously fake. I don't think anything bad's going to happen to her. I think it's funny. So good on her for keeping that going. I hope she takes that to the grave with her. So what else we got? Moving on. All right. Saw a news article. Actually, this is from the Bradley Blotter, one of our Ride or Die fans, who sends me, news articles every once in a while to keep me updated on the important events going on in the world. Now, as you know, speaking of important events, the World Economic Forum took place in Switzerland, Sweden, Davos, wherever Davos is. Is that Switzerland or Sweden? I don't remember. It doesn't matter particularly. It's where all the big wigs talk about the money of the world and how they're going to keep controlling the plebes, if you will, of this great universe, this great center of the universe, the Earth. So they get out there, and apparently the sex work ring, the sex workers of the world unite the same time of year in the same location because that's where they make most of their money for like the year. And if you're living in America, if you're a prostitute in America, it's most definitely you're making your nut for the year, no pun intended, because it's illegal here. In Europe and stuff, it's legal. You can do prostitution and it's a business. It's actual work. But they all travel out there to Davos for the World Economic Forum because they're making tons of money for the 5-day goings-on out there. So just to put things in perspective for you, without getting too tinfoil hatty, all the old rich whites of the world and rich foreigners, the rich men of the world, old, wrinkly balls, loose skin, completely out of touch with the actual world because they're 100 years old, they're all out there. They spend a decent portion of the day talking about how they're going to continue to control our monies and control the people and keep us in line. And then at night, they're pissing away money on prostitutes and sex work all night long. Some of these gals are getting up to like $1,000 an hour for their work. And it ranges from getting paid to just go out to dinner so they can be arm candy for some of these old richies, or actual doing sex with them, or going to their sex parties, or their post-World Economic Forum parties that they have in their hotel, and they're getting paid thousands of dollars to do all this stuff. Okay? So remember that when you want to take these people seriously, not the sex workers, I take them more seriously. These people in charge of our money. Sorry, folks, had technical difficulties. Had a phone call on the. I use my phone as a camera, so that's what happens. Sometimes somebody calls and the camera freezes, and I got to start over. So, but as I was saying, when you think about the people in charge of our money and our economic future, before you take them seriously, think about what they're doing on a regular basis, okay? Before you decide to listen to them and start spewing crap on social media, how we need to pay attention and everything that they say, and these are important people and they know what they're talking about. This is what's going on at these big, important meetings that are going to dictate the future of our economic status for years to come, okay? This is how they're doing that. So when they take it seriously, we'll start taking them seriously. And that goes for politicians too. Because if you think that's not happening with them, think again. All right? Now, like I said, I don't want to get too tinfoil hatty, so we're just going to drop it there. But that's the news there. So with that, we'll move right along. We'll get into the good stuff. We'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Eggchelada Eggs. As egg prices continue to skyrocket, it's time for all you yokels out there to find a more affordable way to get your eggs. Well, now you can with Eggchelada Eggs. You see, Eggchelada employs a full team of smugglers and runners to transport millions of Mexico's finest eggs right to your doorstep for a fraction of what you're paying at the grocery store. So say goodbye to price gouging and say hola to extravagant savings and get yourself some Eggchelada eggs today. Just head over to the parking lot of your local Home Depot, and if you yell out your window, Excelente, you'll get 29% off your first dozen eggs. egg prices are out of control right now. I didn't look up why just yet. They say it's a supply and demand. That's a supply issue. So I'm not sure why the supply is so low. Have we been getting eggs from other countries and the supply chain has broken down? Or are people hoarding eggs? I don't know what's going on. Like I said, I haven't done any sort of research on it because I don't care. Like, I could still afford the eggs. But that's not a good answer. That's not the right answer. I need to do some research and be more mindful of that stuff. But egg prices are getting out of control. So we need to find better ways to do that. And they're legitimately smuggling eggs over the border from Mexico into the U.S. There is now an emerging, it's not a drug trade, but it's an egg trade. And that's a serious thing. The sponsor might not be so serious, but that's a real thing. You can look that up. So there you go. Now with that, the Cage fact. Excuse me. How's the lighting in here today? And the sound? I'm still getting things set up. I got this old garbage yellow bulb in the office here, so I need to upgrade my lighting because I don't like it. It's too dark and yellow. I don't like that, and I got to get pictures and stuff up on the wall so the echo's not as bad. Last episodes, couple episodes here have been god-awful in my opinion with the audio and echo. Hopefully with this mic it's a little bit better. But you let me know. You tell me in the comments or whatever, let me know. Anyway, Nic Cage recently came out with the movie The Old Way. It's a Western movie. It's on Amazon Prime, I believe, that you can stream it there, or maybe some other places you can stream it. It's also, I believe, in theaters as well. I haven't checked on the theater side, but it's definitely streaming. And it's a solid movie, I heard. I haven't watched it myself yet because I've been too busy procrastinating on unpacking and stuff. But he did an interview. How many times can I say obviously in one Cage fact? He did an interview talking about the movie and stuff, and he mentioned how he loved Westerns as a kid. It was sort of like his little escape as a child of watching a good old-timey Western. And one of the actors he admired the most was Charles Bronson, who did a couple of Westerns that were real bangers back in the day. And he said he's always liked the Old West. He's always liked living in the West and that whole lifestyle. He's lived in California and then also in Nevada, where a lot of these Westerns, took place too, from back in the day. So he actually used that admiration for Westerns and Charles Bronson. He started channeled that when he made The Old Way, and it was one of the reasons why he took the movie on, and he was excited about it because he's never been in a Western before this, I don't think, and he got to, exercise his acting chops a little bit and get out of his comfort zone and do something new, and I heard it went very well, so that's the Cage fact. There you go. All right, moving on over into the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. Talking about dating apps and the frustrations and the realization that I had after I took the step back and took time to actually think through, take a breath and think through what the deal is and the why behind it all, and I'm trying to help you guys out too with that, so you can learn from me and realize what the situation is here. So I was looking at the dating. As you know, I'm on the dating apps right now. Okay, I'm trying to be an outdoor cat. It's not working out very well for me because the dating apps don't work for me very well because they don't apply to my skill set. Okay, if you've ever been on the dating apps these days, Tinder, Bumble, Match, eHarmony, Plenty of Fish, Craigslist, what have you. They're all generally the same. They have slightly different platforms of how they go about doing things, but generally they're pretty much the same. You post pictures, you answer some questions, you describe yourself, and then you hope people find that appealing enough to match with you and message you or answer your messages or swipe right on you or whatever it's going to be. Now, it doesn't play to my strengths because my strengths are not in the looks and on-paper description department. when it comes to the dating stuff. For like job applications and resumes and things like that, yeah, it's a little different. But when we're talking about dating, I don't meet the logical criteria of what women say they look for on these apps. And I'm not saying like this is not woe is me kind of thing, or women be better, this and that, change your ways, accept me below. No, it's the dating apps are just not the best avenue for me to go and meet people. And I'm cool with that. I get it. I understand it. But it's a good supplement to the dating game when you're out there, when you're out and about. This is an additional tool to have in your tool belt to find, your soulmate, if you will, if you're looking for that. But pictures, I don't look good in pictures. I look like a cartoon character. I'm okay with that. I'm good with it. And then there's not a lot of opportunity to show off your character and charisma and your sense of humor in these written descriptions or these small couple word prompts on these dating apps. So you got to get really creative, or you just got to hope you get lucky and one of these girls that you're attracted to sees through that bullshit and is also attracted to you on these as well. So I'm out there, and I've been getting real frustrated lately. Initially frustrated seeing what I was considering to be bullshit dating app tactics that people were pulling to sort of hide something negative about themselves and to trick you into liking them or messaging them or swiping on them or whatever. And I was getting fed up with it, frankly. Okay, and this is guys and girls too. I didn't just I polled the audience. I found out from friends who are girls that they deal with the same crap. And it's very obvious. Even some profiles even talk about how, hey, I'm so tired of dealing with this and this and this on these apps. Change my mind about them or whatever they are. So one of them is probably the biggest one, the most egregious, most obvious one that you see out there in the dating app world is people putting up group pictures, posting group photos, and making you guess which one they are. And the majority of the time, it's a couple group photos before there's an actual solo photo before you can find out who they are. And again, this is both men and women do this 98% of the time. And this could be a hot take. Please, I welcome your feedback if I'm wrong, but through my own personal experience and through my own research with my friends on the female side who do these dating apps, 98% of the time, the people who post the group pics, they're the ugliest one in the group pic. There's 3 or 4 people in the photo. Look for the ugliest one, the least attractive one, and that's the person whose profile that is. 98% of the time, that's who it's going to be. Now, if you do the math, that means not all the time. But most of the time, you look at a group photo, you do your little scrutinization and assessment. Oh, there's a fatty, or there's an ugly dude with his man boobs hanging out. This is his profile, or this is her profile, or whatever it is. In fact, I saw personally, this happened, my friend saw it on their end too, on her end. There was 4 group photos in a row, and the group photos were of the same 3 people. 2 very attractive people and 1 not attractive person. 4 in a row, different, from different outings, different events, but the same 3 people. My friend, she was dealing with 2 people in 4 pics in a row. Same 2 people. One was grotesque. One was not as grotesque. And it didn't come down to the 5th until the 5th picture was a solo photo of the person, all the way at the end of their profile. After all their prompts and questions answered, and these pictures was finally a picture of just them, so that now it left no doubt whatsoever that it was this person who, of course, 98% of the time, it was the unattractive one. And then I've seen several times there has just been only group photos, and you have to just talk to them to find out which one they are. Guys and gals, both of them do it. That's got to be the most egregious thing I've seen on these apps. That's been the most frustrating initially, right off the bat. The initial reaction is, here we go again with the group photo. Now I got to play Where's Waldo. And really, at this point, it's almost not even worth doing it. If you see just 2 group photos in a row, you just move on to another profile in the dating app world because you know what's going to happen. You almost know what's going to happen. Again, it's not all the time, vast majority of the time. The other thing I see, and I've polled my audience, it's a very small sample size, I'll admit that. It's just my close friends on the female side who are on the dating app world. The next thing you see is the neck up only pictures or the high angle only, like looking, up top looking down, top down photos. And again, neck up hides 90% of your body, maybe more depending on the person. And then the top down high angle photos only that's the best angle. Okay? For the women, it makes the cleavage pop the most. You can't see any belly fat, like any hangover or spillage over the waistline, over the equator there. And you can't tell anything about their physical stature or body type and shape or how healthy they are based on the top-down look. It's a very flattering angle. For the guys, too, because it makes the clavicles pop a little bit more. With if they're taking a selfie, you can see, like, if you're looking in YouTube land, you can see the shoulder muscles are a little bit tighter looking. Your man boobs look like pecs, like strong Schwarzenegger pecs. And no one can see your beer belly. It covers your tiny pee-pee, and you look halfway decent. And it's, surface level, it's a bullshit tactic. Absolute bullshit tactic. You're hiding your entire body to trick people into thinking you're good-looking or you're desirable physically, visually. And again, surface level bullshit tactic. The other thing you see is the only full body pictures people post are inside of a pool. They'll go either pecs and up, they'll be visible, the rest will be under the water, or they'll be neck deep in the pool. So on the technicality, they can say, hey, here's a full body picture. Don't say I never gave you anything. But it's all in the pool. So there's the angles are all off. The way the light and stuff diffuse in the water and the H2O and the chemistry behind it, it makes for, you can't see anything. That's what it makes for. It makes for invisible bodies. But on the technicality, they're not hiding anything. It's just, sorry, that's what science does with bodies in water. And it's another, what comes off as a tactic. And all these, look, if you're trying to trick people into thinking you're something you're not, if that's your game, if your game is to trick people for whatever reason, humor, revenge, whatever, these are good tactics, okay? Group photos. Hide yourself. Hide in the crowd. Hide in the noise, okay? Neck above, neck and up shots of pictures of you to hide if you're trying to hide anything. Tiny pee-pee, beer belly, saggy tits, whatever it is, do that. Okay? And then if you want to show full body, you're still going to have to earn it and use your imagination because I'm going to go in a pool. And all the waves and the pool anglers and all that stuff is going to trick you into thinking maybe this is a hot bod. Maybe this guy's got some real tight quads down there. Do that. If that's your game, these are great tactics for that game. Okay? If you're trying to troll people and have a good time in your life, look, I wouldn't do it personally, but these are good tactics, okay? Another tactic that's also good that people have been doing that's frustrating for us people looking for something serious is they're purposely omitting very important things about their lives. For example, not mentioning that they have kids. Now, as we all know, that's not a deal breaker for me. My friends continue to joke that I'm like an aspiring stepdad and I'm just looking for single moms to date and do whatever. Long story short, it's not a deal breaker for me. What's a deal breaker for me is people purposely omitting that information until later on and keeping it until they think they have their hooks in on you. And I would have to imagine it's a lot easier for guys to do this than it is for girls on dating apps, because most of the time when a guy and a girl have kids together, the kids are most of the time, again, caveat, not all the time, I'm trying not to generalize too much, most of the time the mother has the majority of the custody of these kids. So it's a lot easier for some dirty dude to not mention the fact and hide the fact that he's got some offspring somewhere that he's supposed to be responsible for. To be a dad, financially, whatever. Something he neglects to mention. Now, if they have an arrangement where he's paying child support, but they're not in his life physically, and he never sees him, or they're not. The mother chose to not make this guy part of their lives ever. That's one thing. But most of these dudes that are pulling this sleazy shit are supposed to be there for their kids, whether financially or parentally, and they're just hiding it on their dating app so that chicks will, think that they're cool and single and available and free. I don't know what the reason is, but women do it too. Women more so than men have kids. Like, we'll mention the kids on their profile, but some of them will hide it. Some of them will hide it, and it's frustrating because, again, on the surface level, it's a lie. You're lying about something by the absence of information, and you can do the technicality all you want. Well, I didn't lie, I just didn't mention it. Most of these dating apps, for those of you who don't know, who are already indoor cats and don't have to worry about this stuff anymore, there's always a section about whether or not you have children, or if you want children. They're usually right next to each other. Do you have children? Do you want children? Next on the list there. Now, you can choose to keep that information hidden. You could choose to keep a lot of information hidden. Personal information like name, email address, whatever. And then there's stuff like your political stance. You could keep that hidden. Your religious views, you can keep that hidden. And then, of course, this stuff you can keep hidden too. But religious stuff and political beliefs are individual things that you do on your own terms. Having kids adds a different element, and it changes the game a lot. Like I said again, not a deal breaker for me. On the surface, though, it's the omission and the hiding of the information and the perceived lying about it comes off as you tricking me into thinking you don't have kids until you think you got your hooks in. And why would I want to be with a person like that who's gonna pull that sort of trickery, try to pull the wool over my eyes just to get me to stick around? I'm not that guy. I know there's a lot of people out there, guys and gals, who think that, oh, well, I'm so far in now, I'll just stick around. It's not me, okay? I have no problem not sticking around. I don't like people lying like that and tricking you into liking them or to sticking around when it comes to love and relationships. I don't have time for that crap. I'm not going to sit here and be unhappy the rest of my life and create an unhappy life for an entire family just because you thought, because you tricked me and you thought I would stick around. Not happening. And I don't appreciate that. So it gets me heated when I see stuff like that on these dating apps. The other thing I see a lot of, and I don't know if guys do it, but I see a lot of excuse me, women posting just professional photographs only. And they'll have no information, no descriptors on their profile whatsoever, nothing about them, no likes, dislikes, things they do as hobbies, things they do for work, nothing. It's just photographs, and it's all professionally done photographs, or sometimes very clearly they're taken from Google and put on there as well. And then there's a lot of times where there's pictures of just like scenery or animals and no people in them, and then no information about these people. Again, very frustrating. All this stuff gets me heated, and I was getting pissed off at these people. Like, what are these people trying to do? What kind of dirty tricks are these people trying to pull to get what they want? And then I took a step back, okay? And this is where the lesson comes in for you guys, okay? Because when you see this stuff out there, it's very easy to get angry and want to do something about it in retaliation for this perceived BS. And it's BS. It's not perceived. It's bullshit, okay? It's not right to do these things, okay? But follow me here, okay? I had this realization. I took this step back, and I began to empathize a little bit as to the why these people are doing this. All right? Now, some of these people are just tricksters. They're just trolls or catfish trying to scam you for money, or just to have their own sort of sadistic fun of tricking people into thinking that they're desirable. Whatever, there's just going to be those tricksters out there. That's that percentage of people who just want to see the world burn in the dating app world. All right? So that's what we got to deal with. However, that is not the majority of the people out there doing these things. Okay? The majority of the people doing these things, the reasons why they're doing it is not for tactics to trick people. It's because they're insecure, unhappy, self-conscious with themselves, dealing with some sort of inner issue with themselves, that they are embarrassed, ashamed, whatever descriptor you want to use to describe why they're not showing it to you. And that hurt my heart realizing that. Because like I said, it's bullshit that they're doing this, but why people are doing this stuff is very sad. It's because they're not happy with themselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it's their physical appearance or the life situation they're in currently, that they found themselves in their current situation, their current state. And they're ashamed to put that out there in the world. Again, there's a number of reasons why they might be ashamed. Maybe they're overweight and they're unhealthy, and they don't want people to. They don't want to put that out there. They're not trying to show that off. And again, the point of dating apps is to appeal to whoever you're trying to attract. And these people feel that by putting out their true selves, whether it be their physical appearance or the stuff about them, their lives, whether they have kids, they're divorced, they're a virgin, they've never done, whatever it is, the descriptors about themselves, their character and personality, they think those traits are undesirable to the people they're trying to attract, and therefore they're going to hide them and omit them because they want to interact with these people, they want to attract people, and they want to be happy in a good, happy, loving relationship. And they're missing the fact that they're creating a catch-22 situation of, they think by omitting this stuff and hiding these things about themselves, they're going to get to the point where someone is going to fall for them, and then they'll reveal this, and then they'll be like, it's okay, I already fell for you, so we're good to go. But in reality, it's creating even more isolation, because when people find out about it, they're going to be angry at you. So they're not just going to not be in your lives, they're going to dislike you for it too. and you could risk some sort of revenge situation with these people, and you don't want that either. And this whole thing is sad and disheartening because they're going to all these great lengths to hide their true selves from the people they want to attract the most, when in reality they are hurting themselves internally. It's not about the other people, it's about themselves. And the advice I have for them, the tips and tricks for them, is almost exactly the big three that we preach about every week. If you're feeling self-conscious about your body, go exercise. Update your nutrition, your diet. Start small. Work your way up to it. Figure out why you're unhappy with your body. Is it because you visually don't like the way you look or think other people don't find you visually attractive? Is it because you feel unhealthy and you want to get healthier? Whatever it is, find that why and then make the change for you. What is it going to take for you to be happy with yourself visually, physically, health-wise, body-wise for yourself, okay? And this is the key here. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said it's much more than calling out these quote-unquote bullshit tactics on dating apps. It's understanding who you're doing this stuff for, okay? And we shouldn't be doing stuff like this. We shouldn't be doing anything for other people's approval or to attract, for girls to attract guys. Or, guys think the guys like this more, so I'll do this because I think that's what guys want. Or it's vice versa, like girls, wearing yoga pants and taking pool pics and group pics because guys like tight chicks and not fat chicks, so I'm going to do this because that's what I think guys like and I want to attract guys. The big thing you want to do for everything is do the things to be happy for yourself, to give yourself happiness so you can be happy and content and satisfied with yourself. If it's physically, find what's going to make you happy with yourself. Don't just say, getting a boyfriend will make me happy. No. Don't put your happiness on others. Don't make your happiness in life dependent on another human being. Create the happiness internally with yourself, and then you will be able to attract more people into your life that want to enable and empower and grow that happiness with you together. And you can elevate each other's happiness, individual happiness, as a team. Whether it's friends or family or relationship or whatever. Don't sit there and wait for someone else to be happy, to make you happy. Because it's never going to work out. You'll feel the butterflies and you'll have the honeymoon effect and it'll be all hunky-dory for the first 6 months. If it's even that long. Usually it's like the first 2 or 3 months maybe. And then that person's going to get sick and tired and worn out and overwhelmed with having to create happiness for himself and for you. And it's not a selfish thing like, I'm tired of doing all this stuff for you to make you happy. It's not a selfishness thing. We are not built emotionally, mentally, physically to do that. And it's probably a hot take, but it's the truth. Okay? If somebody is sitting there and their entire existence, their entire happiness quotient, factor, percentage is reliant 100% on somebody else, now that person has to create happiness with themselves. And then also for you, and they have to play the guessing game on what's going to make you happy at any given month or day. And if they don't do something that you want because it's going to make their happiness level go down, then you're going to fight, you're going to shit on each other, and it's going to become a toxic situation. And it's an unbearable weight to have to put on people to make them responsible for. And I was going to make a joke about Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Nic Cage movie, one of the top movies of all time. I'm not going to do that because we're having a mature conversation here. But you have to be happy with yourself. Okay? If you want to beat the dating app game, quote unquote beat the game, you have to do the things that make you happy so you can feel confident enough to put that stuff out there for the world. And then also make sure that your happiness and what you consider to be success is not dependent on the results of these dating app situations. Because like I said earlier, I believe dating apps to be a supplement if you're in the dating game and should not be the sole way of you trying to find true love or whatever it is. Okay? You have to be honest with yourself. Be open about everything about you. Flaws or not flaws, issues, kids, no kids, relationship situations, your quote unquote baggage, whatever it is, be honest and open about it. If you have that much of an internal issue with it to the point where you have to hide it from people, then that's where you have to take that step back and realize you need to change the situation to try to better yourself to be happy. And understand that sometimes shit like that happens. Sometimes you get into a relationship with a shitty person, you have to get divorced for the betterment of yourself and maybe your family if you have kids, and that's how it is. And if you're honest and true to yourself, you'll find that people are going to appreciate that more and be more attracted to that as opposed to you hiding it to pretend that you live in this perfect world and existence that's not really actually real. Okay, if you're thinking about what is attractive to other people, it's being open and honest and confident in your own life, in your own skills, and having that understanding of your own flaws and shortcomings and what you have to work on and what you want to work on and things like that. Okay? And it comes back to taking that internal look and figuring out that why you're hiding this stuff. Oh, it's to attract other people because people won't find me attractive. Well, why are you doing things for others and not yourself? Okay, find out what's going to make you happy physically. Find out what's going to make you happy emotionally, mentally, in every aspect of your life. Work on that stuff, and then be open and honest and okay with that journey. Okay? There's no expectation that you're going to start working out tomorrow if you feel overweight and you're just going to be skinny and fit to fight and be out there in the dating app world and as a different person. But, and I've seen a lot of people do this, and this is actually, and again, you're not doing this because I find it attractive. You shouldn't ever do that. But it is a lot more attractive overall when someone is saying, hey, I was this. I was a lazy piece of garbage, or I ate like garbage, or I let myself go, but I'm back in the gym, working my ass off to get back to where I want to be in my life. That's hot. Okay? That's awesome. I know you're not doing it for me because I think it's hot. You're doing it for you, as you should be. But talk about an attractive quality of being open and honest and transparent and admitting, like, hey, I'm not there yet. But this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing to get there. This is why I want to get to this particular point, because it's going to bring me joy and happiness. And I'm confident in that, in being able to say that this journey is for me and it's happening. And we're not at the end yet, but join me for the ride if you want. And if not, I'll find someone who wants to join me for the ride. That's an attractive quality right there. Good for that person, guy or gal. And whatever it is, hey, I'm going through a shitty divorce, or I went through a shitty divorce. This gal was doing this, or this guy was doing this, and I'm still trying to pick up the pieces to be better for my family and for myself. Join me for this journey. And if not, okay, you're not the person for me. It's time to find. It's tough, but it's time to find somebody else that can join me on this journey and know that I'm on this journey, whether you like it or not, with or without you. That's the stuff you gotta work to be okay with. And if you follow the big three, you can become that unapologetically yourself. You can become that person you want to be, and you don't have to apologize to anybody for it. You don't have to try to hide it. You don't have to focus so much on doing things to attract others only. If you create a happy existence for yourself and you work on yourself, you'll attract others. People will come to you, will flock to you, if you will. New friends, potential lovers, what have you. You will emit that sort of aura around you, that magnetic sort of, I don't know where to describe it, but that magnetism will just emit out of you, and people will be attracted to that naturally. And then you will find your happiness. In the meantime, don't get frustrated when you see stuff like that on these dating apps that you don't like, that you think are tactics, like we just discussed. If you're seeing the group photos, if you're seeing the pool photos, if you're seeing the no descriptions or whatever, easy, Randy, barking in the background. Don't get frustrated right off the bat at these people, because the majority of the time, these people are going through some shit inside their heads and their hearts, and they just haven't got on that path to happiness for themselves internally, whatever that path needs to be. So, and that's the big thing I learned. That's the big thing I'm trying to push out and teach you guys, and to tell you guys, especially those who are out in the dating app world and the outdoor cat world, is to understand that. Now, I'm not saying go and swipe on those people or match with them just because you feel bad. Like, you can feel bad for people, you can get initially frustrated, but also understand they're going through some shit. Okay? And we're all going through shit of our own in some way, shape, or form. This is how they're projecting that. All right? And try not to let that deter you from finding someone that you can grow your happiness with. Okay? You don't necessarily delete all the apps and call it quits. Don't message them and say, you're a piece of shit for hiding who you are, you're a liar, and this and that. Just let it go and move on. And that person, the person's not right for you, and you're not right for them probably. So just let it go. Let them find themselves. And you'll eventually, you'll be more emotionally okay with it if you can understand, get inside there, internally, in the heart, in the brain of the matter, and understand what people are going through and get to that why. And that's all we got today. All right? Before we go, though, speaking of the big three, let's talk about the big three. All right? For all you newbies out there, I started the big three a long time ago on this show. It's the 3 pillars of the LPDS to staying strong and being a better, happier, more positive human being, and spreading that goodness throughout your existence in society. I came up with these a while, throughout my time doing this podcast and talking to people. And I think by following these 3 simple things, simple in nature, you will eventually get to becoming a healthier person, a happier person, a more positive thinking person, and somebody who again brings light and spreads that goodness to others. And I think that's some of the most important stuff. And again, these are simple concepts. They are difficult to actually do, but they're simple in nature. All right? The first one of the big three, the first pillar is exercise every day. It's a very simple concept. Go for a walk, whatever you got to do, get your body moving, but exercising every day will get the chemicals flowing through your body, surging through your bloodstream, the endorphins, the dopamines, the how you doings. And you'll be doing something. You'll work on your muscles, you're working your lungs, your organ, whatever it is, you're going to get healthier physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay? And it's as simple as just going for a walk after a meal, burning calories, getting your steps in, doing what you got to do. Just getting that little bit of work done, getting your heart rate up a little bit, and then going from there every day. Number 2, probably the most difficult one to actually do, is to not be a shitty person, be a good person. Again, it sounds simple, but we are constantly faced with situations that make it very easy for us just to be shitty. Most of the time it's on the internet, on social media. You see people all the time posting stuff and doing things and saying things that you don't like. And the first thing you think to do is to respond to them negatively and to be an asshole to them. And I'll show them, I'll stick it to them. And I got you. And and then you move on. You think, oh, it's just a profile on the internet. I can say this type. I can take this jab, this gotcha. People will like what I have to say because it's funny and I showed them. And I can move on with my life, and it won't affect them at all because it's just a profile. But it's not. Okay, it's another human being on the other end. And when you're someone who's dealing with that all the time, like a Livvy Dunne, for instance, imagine millions of people with that same mindset. Oh, I'm just gonna take this jab. It'll be funny. It'll be good. I'll show them, and I'll be on my way. And now you're Livvy Dunne, who's a young kid in college who opens up her Instagram and has millions of shitty comments blasting her for something. Imagine that was you. Millions of comments of people shitting on you that you've never met before in your entire life. You have no idea why they would message you. They have no idea what you're going through in life at all, or even the particular situation. And they're trashing you relentlessly. Do you think that response that you made is making the world a better place, is making things more positive and solving a problem? If you do, you should probably go talk to somebody like a professional. If you don't think that way, then you should think about stopping that activity, stopping that line of thinking altogether. Don't do that stuff. You don't fight shit with shit. You don't fight negativity with negativity. All that does is double the shit in the room, in the stratosphere. And again, it's as simple as just not typing anything and not hitting send. It's difficult because emotionally you're all charged up and you want to be that shitty person. But the number 2 of the big 3 is as simple as just not responding. Because once you start that domino effect, you respond and then they respond and then you respond back. An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours goes by of you living in the shit negativity trenches with a complete stranger on a computer. And now most of your day is taken up in negativity. So just omit that from your life, and you'll be a better person for it. Number 3, the most important one. Number 2 is the most difficult, let's be honest. Number 3, the most important one is to be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And it's as simple in nature. It's difficult to do because you can't just wake up and be grateful for everything genuinely in your life all the time to the point where you're just like a nun or a saint for being so positive and grateful all the time. That's crazy talk. But you can take the baby step approach to get close to that, to at least to the point where the majority of your day is living in gratitude as opposed to attitude. And I just made that up now. I'm sure somebody smarter and better than me thought of that first, but if not, that's an LPDS saying that we just made up. All right? Go back, rewind, cut, clip, give me the credit. You can have all the money and royalties. I just want the credit for that. That's an LPDS saying right there and a phrase to live by. But if you wake up and you just think of one thing to start off your day that's good in your life and actually be grateful for it, think about it actively and be like, man, this really, think about why this thing is so good in your life and be grateful for that good thing in your life. And then the next day you do it again. And the next day you do it another thing and another thing. And then eventually you add 2 things you think about. And then maybe 3 things that day. And if you just start your day off thinking in that positive space, that positive brain space, that space of gratitude, thinking about the good things you have and how grateful you are to have these good things in your life, as opposed to any other way of thinking, any other negative way of thinking, you'll eventually get to the point where the majority of your brain space is filled with the positivity and the gratitude. And you couple that with being less of a shitty person and not doing the text message tough guy stuff on the internets, and you triple that with exercising every day so that chemically and physically you'll be healthier and you'll have that, all the good chemicals surging through your body, and you'll be physically healthier because you won't be storing all that extra fat that's no good for your bones and your organs and your muscles and everything. And then you come back and you tell me you're not a better person after following the big 3. And I'll give you $1 and an apology poem. Because if you follow those 3 things every day, you will be a better, happier, more positive, grateful human being. I promise you that. And then you'll spread that energy out to the world. And that energy is magnetic. And that's all I got today, folks. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. Like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies to spread the good word of the LPDS. If you guys have topic ideas, if you have questions you want to ask me, hit the hotline. You can email me, Libretti Podcast Diary @gmail.com. You can hit me in the DMs at Instagram at LPD_show. Find ways. You can find all these ways to reach out and ask your question. If you have topic ideas, things you want to hear me talk a bitch about, let me know. If you want my hot takes on a particular topic, let me know. It's all open, and we'll figure out a way to make it happen. So do that, and then tell your friends the same thing. So thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.